from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Central. I want to hear from medical doctors, EMTs, people that have dealt with hazmat situations in hot zones. I know you're out there listening. We have millions of listeners worldwide. 800-259-9231. 800-259-9231. Since I mentioned it, they did find Christian Science Monitor, AP, you name it. We'll put those back on screen from 2012, 2013, where the Army and where FEMA and where the CDC, there's raw story, U.S. military trains to fight zombies. U.S. military forces train for zombie apocalypse, November 2012, for a viral outbreak that turns the population into something like Walking Dead. What is the only virus to be close to this? That's rabies, which they've always been worried might go airborne and is similar to Ebola. In fact, a lot of experts believe that the super weapon would be Ebola crossed with airborne rabies. They found another one, CNN. Pentagon document lays out battle plan against zombies. No, they don't want to freak the public out, so they call them zombies. But if you read the paperwork, and then they have actual drills, it's to mow down masses of crowds for a viral outbreak, but also during civil unrest. Like in the scene in V for Vendetta, that's kind of based on what happened with the fall of Ceausescu in Romania. You got hundreds of thousands of people marching up to the ministry, and the troops refuse to fire on them, so they take down the corrupt government. Well, they want the troops to mow the people down. So it's a simulant to say, oh, they're not human, they're zombies, and to train troops to mow down peaceful crowds. But it's also in the training dual, like all military training is generally on multi-facets. They are carrying it out in preparation for an Ebola, a human-transmitted mousepox, something like that. Human-transmitted mousepox, and it only takes a couple $100,000 to design this with the right laboratory. The FBI tried to block its release 4 years ago, but was unable to. They have released in the U.S., Canada, and Australia 3 different university studies that are public on how to make human mousepox that kills 90+% of people. Some numbers are 98%. Now, some idiots, every time I mention that, send me emails saying, how dare you tell people that the mousepox recipe is out? It was all over the news, okay? It's like when we go show the southern borders open, people say, don't show it's wide open. The terrorist, believe me, if there's any terrorists down there, they know it's open. More information exposes it's open and hopefully gets it under control. Sunshine is what stops these type of political infections. There it is. Killer mousepox virus raises bioterror fears, 2001. Killer mousepox virus raises bioterror fears. And that was New Scientist. And back then they hadn't released it yet. Hadn't released how to make it. And Western governments, who I don't usually agree with, tried to stop it for a long time, but it was released. There's the New York Times. Bioterror researchers build a more lethal mousepox. And so this is an ongoing serial situation where it just happens repeatedly because governments continually try to block it. MI6, FBI, don't release that. And generally, I'm all for releasing university research, but they shouldn't be creating weaponized mousepox and weaponized Ebola. They shouldn't be creating weaponized rabies. And they sure shouldn't be releasing how to do it. Now, call me a conspiracy theorist. Common sense is now called conspiracy theory. That's all I'm doing is putting out common sense here. If you just joined us, Obama to ask for $88 million to boost anti-Ebola effort. That's out of the Rappler.com. What does that mean? You're doing that to then fly more Ebola patients back here and then put them in facilities that don't even have proper protection in them? Again, we pointed this out back last month, and we're called evil demons for saying, why are you flying people in when it's never been done before and you're not supposed to, and this stuff could clearly already be airborne, and you're not even putting them in level 4 bioweapons labs. You're putting them in university research hospitals. This is crazy. And I'm trying to not rant and rave here, but it is just amazing to have CBS News call us conspiracy theorists on August 6th, and AP and everybody else because we dared link to federal documents that are on the CDC website. How dare us? And I'm not making this about InfoWars and whining here. I'm angry because what are they doing producing weaponized mousepox, weaponized rabies? Do you know what the only thing that would make people actually act like zombies and run around biting people would be weaponized rabies? Have you ever seen somebody dying of rabies? I have seen a university film clip of it. And let me tell you, it isn't pretty. It's a lot scarier than these zombies in these movies. Someone chained down, strapped down to a gurney, with sweat pouring off of them, biting so hard their teeth break off with their eyes bugging out. It makes The Shining video whenever the actor comes through the door with the hatchet. It makes Jack Nicholson look like an angelic creature, what rabies makes people behave like. And they've been messing with that on record for 50-something years. Plum Island, weaponized tick-borne syphilis is now called, on record, Lyme's disease. And it's spread all over the country from the East Coast, from New York. And it was a U.S. facility run by Nazis, declassified. And then the deer 1 mile from New York swam across from Plum Island. Deer will do that when they're starving. And introduced weaponized ticks to the United States. It's syphilis, ladies and gentlemen. Weaponized tick-borne syphilis that the Nazis had looked at in World War II, trying to develop to drop on the Russians. Let's go back to that other article. The guys are doing searches right now on the TV end, showing viewers what we're talking about. Yeah, let's not forget, they dug up dead whalers from the North Pole back in 2005 to get the weaponized super flu and try to weaponize it even more. Special report, the 1918 flu virus is resurrected. The Journal of Nature. All right, I said I'd go to your phone calls. It's governments that are endangering us. It's governments that help create ISIS and turn them loose. Hundreds of years ago, it was reported that rabies was used as a biological weapon in the Middle Ages. There's nothing new under the sun. And you tie all this together, it's crazy. State Department orders 160,000 Ebola hazmat suits. They tell hospitals nationwide, prepare for Ebola. Are you in a hospital that's gotten these notices? Give us a call. I mean, it's confirmed. We're not asking you to confirm it. Give us your take on it. 800-259-9231. We got Sean, Tim, Chris, Christopher, Dr. Davis, and others. And we're going to go to Sean and others. But first, Dr. Davis in Florida wants to give us his take on this. Go ahead, Dr. Davis.
Hi, Alex. How are you?
I'm doing okay, I guess. I don't know why they're bringing Ebola patients back to the U.S. They're supposed to keep them on medical Navy ships, but I guess they don't do that anymore. What do you think about this?
Well, I think it's ridiculous to bring these patients back. It introduces risks that are just not reasonable. And like you said, you can put a level 3 containment facility on just about any Navy ship and keep those people away from the rest of the population. It only makes common sense.
Why do you think they're bringing so many Ebola patients back to South Dakota and Georgia and other states?
I can't even speculate because it makes absolutely no sense. Like I said, it creates risk where you don't have to have risk. It just doesn't make any sense.
What's your overall view of the Ebola epidemic?
Well, I think that from my perspective of running a biotech company that has a potential solution for this in a drug that we've developed and worked with the Army on it, all of the emphasis right now appears to be on vaccines. And I think that that's a mistaken solution because if you have hypermutation like you have in this particular viral strain, it's impossible to anticipate how it might mutate, which is the key to developing a successful vaccine. You have to look forward at where it's going to go. and you can't predict where this is going to go. So I don't believe that the vaccines that Glaxo or any of the other companies are trying to work on, even though I believe in those from a scientific standpoint, I simply don't believe that you can predict